Hello, yes, there we are. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a nice break, a nice coffee. We are going into a session of Ignite Talks, which are like lightning talks, but they have a different name. They're short, 5 to 8 minutes long. And afterwards, we will have some questions. So we will go through all of the talks first. If you have questions, and please keep them in mind, we can address them at the end of today's session. So the session now is called 3D in Practice, Innovating, Reimagining, and Protecting. We have a lineup of some great speakers for you who are working on implementing 3D digitization, access, reuse in the data space, and beyond. I do have to regrettably say that one of our speakers, Jana Rodic, cannot be with us today. So we still have an amazing lineup for you, nonetheless. And to make sure that all of that gets moderated nicely, we have Valentine Charles. She is Data Services Director. Let's give her a warm hand. Thank you so much, Valentine.
Thank you, Yolan. So welcome to this session, 3D in Practice, Innovating, Reimagining, and Protecting. So already yesterday, I know there was some talk about 3D, so there is a big momentum to work on 3D, and this is driven by first policy. So you may be aware of the recommendation 2021 to member states that really encourage all member states to 3D digitize all monument and sites deemed at risk, and 50% of the most physically visited cultural and heritage monuments by 2030. So there is a real momentum and urgency to progress on 3D digitization. 3D digitization is a response to address and anticipate different risks that may have an impact on cultural heritage assets, but it's also an opportunity. It's an opportunity to engage with audiences in a different way, to also explore our cultural heritage asset also in a different way, and also it allows to explore and use new technologies such as AI also to progress on the protection, the research of specific sites. To introduce this session, we will have two Ignite talks. So first, a short talk that will demonstrate the opportunities provided by 3D and also the tools, the infrastructure, and the expertise that is needed to make it happen. So first, two small talks, and then we will have two a bit longer talks that will continue on the topic. So as the first speaker for this first short talk, I would like to welcome on stage Elena Loreto Olmedo Pages from the Complutense University of Madrid. So Elena, you can join me on Elena is online, sorry. So Elena is in the room. Hi, sorry.
Hi, hi everyone.
She will be our first speaker. With a talk on innovation and accessibility in the reuse of digital cultural heritage. Sorry. So you have 5 minutes to inspire us, Elena. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Well, let me begin by expressing my sincere thanks to the organizing team of this event and also to the moderator of this insightful session. I'm a predoctoral researcher at the Faculty of Documentation Sciences at the Complutense University of Madrid, as well as a member of the Idea Lab research group. One of the core areas of our research focuses on the development of virtual exhibitions as a means to transform cultural data into engaging and accessible resources for diverse audiences. Within the framework of the R&D&I project, Cultural and Bibliographic Heritage in the Context of GLAM, Libraries, Archives and Museums, funded by the Ministerio de Ciencia e Innovación, Agencia Estatal de Investigación de España, and further supported by the UCM Santander predoctoral contract, we are working on the creation of inclusive virtual exhibitions that leverage cutting-edge technologies such as artificial intelligence and virtual reality. These exhibitions showcase cultural assets in both 2D and 3D formats, linking them to bibliographic references that provide contextual depth. In doing so, we aim to build a meaningful connection between the object on display, primarily from the Museo Arqueológico Nacional, or MEN, and the related bibliographic heritage, especially that held in the MAN's library. In this context, we took part in the fourth edition of Build with Bits, an initiative led by the Europeana Foundation that encourages the use of European cultural heritage in education and research. Our project introduced an innovative and inclusive approach to heritage dissemination. Through collaboration with professionals from various disciplines, we have strengthened our capacity to design inclusive virtual environments in the metaverse using open source tools and low or no code platforms. We actively promote the use of Creative Commons licensed content and advocate for the reuse of publicly available 3D models, particularly those provided by platforms like Europeana. Next slide, please. Thank you. A key priority for us is to remove the traditional barriers that often prevent people with disabilities from fully experiencing cultural exhibitions. Our virtual environments are designed to be accessible, intuitive, and inclusive. They feature wide, unobstructed spaces and offer textual information in easy-to-read format, along with various multimedia resources to ensure that all users can access and enjoy the content. Some of these experiences are already available on the spatial platform, such as the Library of the Dama d'Elche. We are currently developing our next exhibition, which will explore the story of the Pixies of Zamora, a piece chosen to represent Spain in the Twinit 3D for Europe's Culture campaign. Collaborative networks between GLAM institutions and professionals from other files play a crucial role in promoting the reuse of cultural data and in harnessing the potential of emerging technologies. By establishing collaborative workflows, institutions can share their collections on a global scale, extending their reach to broader and more diverse audiences, while also reinforcing the commitment to inclusivity and accessibility. This is just a brief overview of some of our activities. I will remain at your disposal to respond to any questions or address any comments you may have. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Elena. Just also to flag that in this picture you show here, you can see that the ivory box that is right in the middle was Spain's submission to our Twinit campaign last year. So you can see it's a fantastic object, very beautiful. So yeah, Elena, if you can stay with us until the end of this session so that you can also answer questions that may be asked. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
I will move to our next speaker, who is Valentina Bachi from Photo Consortium. And she will speak about a question of competence, quality and infrastructure, the Eureka 3D initiative. Welcome, Valentina, and the floor is yours, and I need to move the slides for you, so just ask when
yes,
when you need.
Thank you very much, Valentin. And yes, as you said, I am here representing Photo Consortium. Photo Consortium is an association that was born more than a decade ago, focused on photographic heritage. We are an accredited aggregator for Europeana since a long time, and also we are partner in the data space for cultural heritage project. But what I would like to talk about today is this Eureka 3D initiative that we are coordinating. Next slide, please, Valentin. That started already in 2023 with the project Eureka 3D, and is now continuing with the continuation project. The name is Eureka 3D XR. Both projects were funded by the European Union as supporting project for the data space for cultural heritage. Next slide, please. What we are all trying to do is really to support cultural heritage institutions in creating and sharing high quality 3D cultural collection. And what we understood is really that institutions, bigger and smaller, but especially smaller, those with less, let's say, capacity or bigger constraint, are facing challenges about how to address a quality 3D digitization project, how to manage these files in a safe and European-based infrastructure, and how to build knowledge and competence inside the staff at cultural heritage institutions. So we started trying to address all these challenges. And starting from the quality, you see in the slide a QR code. This is a work that we did in the Eureka 3D project to create a step-by-step guideline for cultural heritage institutions addressing 3D digitization project. This was based on a European initiative, a study funded by the European Commission already in 2021 that was really focused on challenges and requirements for high quality digitization of tangible heritage. The QR code will bring you to a PDF. It is a learning resource, but we are working to transform this in an online course that will soon be available in the Europeana learning platform for any cultural professional to learn about the basics, let's say, for a successful 3D digitization project. Next slide, please. Then I said that there is a need for infrastructure. So what we did in Eureka 3D was to create, let's say, a one-stop shop, a single platform that a cultural heritage institution can use to upload and store their 3D models, to manage them, to visualize them, and to have a direct entry gate to Europeana and to the data space for cultural heritage. And this is in line with the recommendation that you, Valentin, mentioned, that the European Commission urges cultural heritage institutions to generate 3D digitization of cultural heritage and to share them in the data space for cultural heritage. And the Eureka 3D Data Hub allows to do all these in a single platform. Next slide, please. But we are working for a step forward. So this new project, Eureka 3D XR, just started in February, and it is really focused on enabling institutions to use and reuse their 3D and other digital collections in XR experiences that deliver compelling narratives to their target audiences, so the visitors of the museum or the heritage site. And in Eureka 3D XR, we are developing 5 tools. I don't have the time to enter in details about this. Next slide, please. What I would like to say is that these tools are being used and tested in 3 demonstration scenarios. We also call them pilots. They are set in 3 different locations in Europe, in different settings with different scopes. But the idea is really that these scenarios will demonstrate and showcase how the use of these tools easily enable an institution to create XR experiences for their audiences. Next slide, please. And the final note is about this capacity building effort that we are doing. So I would like to point you to 2 upcoming events that you may find interesting. The first is a capacity building event in Brussels. It is at the end of September. It is also an hybrid event. So either you come to Brussels or you can access it online. And the second is this online training program between November and December. This is done in collaboration with ICA, the International Council on Archives. And by the way, this week is the International Archives Week, so it is really on the spot. And it will be composed of 3 sessions led by experts in the digital transformation of cultural heritage institutions, and also includes interactive working sessions. Next slide, please. I think I said everything, and I invite you to reach out and follow us. I am available for any question.
Thank you, Valentina. Yeah. I think she gave you a lot of tips and a lot of links to explore. So yeah, a lot of homework for you on your way back. So as we have seen, so 3D digitization and documentation requires new set of skills, and this brings also new approach to the topic of preservation, curation, and dissemination. This pushes really to think differently about those activities. So when it comes to 3D digitization, more than ever, the intention of use of the object needs to be thought about as part of this process of digitization. So we have as a next speaker Cristina Rodriguez Alvarez from the Institute of Cultural Heritage of Spain, that is going to show us how you need to think about the use of the object from the beginning of the overall 3D workflow with a talk that is called 3D Technologies Applied to Preserve and Protect Heritage in a Spanish Public Institution, New Solution and New Challenges. The floor is yours, Cristina. You can come over. This is the tick.
So thank you, Valentina. I'm too short for this, maybe. Okay. Is it okay? Can you hear me? Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you, Valentin. As you said, my name is Cristina Rodriguez, and I work in the Institute of Cultural Heritage in Spain. And in my department, we are a team of technicians specialized in restoration of fine arts and archaeology, and as part of the Spanish Ministry of Culture, we restore assets nationwide. So in our institution, 2D digitization of heritage is already standardized, but recently we have been trying to incorporate 3D techniques following the Europeana basic principles. Today I will present to you 3 case studies which show some issues that we have faced when we apply digital technology to the conservation of different types of heritage exposed to different threats. So for our first case study, we have here one that focuses on the research and preservation of fragile heritage. This is an etched Roman glass bottle from the 4th century, which is too fragile to handle. So in order to maximize the research and observation opportunities for the future, after restoration, we implemented 3D technology. 3D technology. In our second case study, we approached how to protect displayed heritage exposed to extreme conditions. In this case, the fountain sculpture is part of the Cervantes House Museum, and it has been on display in the garden since the museum was founded. And it was actually damaged by weathering and climate change, as we will see. And our final case study focuses on the analysis and legibility of archaeological fragments. This 8th century BC relief was found in 2023 and needed to be studied, but also preserved and shown in a way that the public would read and understand it. So to make it readable, we also used 3D technology. Now, given these cases, actually in the three of them, the best option was to combine traditional conservation with 3D techniques. Our target users were professionals and scholars, but we also obtained files for public communication purposes. The only way for us to apply 3D technologies was to use the outsourcing, as we lack the equipment and the staff with the qualifications to do it. In our contracts, though, we can determine the equipment, the quality of the files, and the file formats that we need when it's possible. And back to the cases, We have the case of the glass bottle that after restoration, as I mentioned, we scanned and we photographed to obtain a digital twin and a 3D damage mapping for professionals. The precise digitization allows research and close visualization while avoiding the handling. Some of the files created can be used in communication strategies too. For the second case, the marble sculpture, we created a replica generated by an automated robot sculpture. And after the restoration of the fountain, we digitized the artwork, and then the data was used by a robotic arm to carve an exact copy of the asset in marble. Marble is the original material of the asset. So the copy then replaced the original outdoors, keeping the traditional design of the historical garden of the museum. And at the same time, the 16th century sculpture was kept, in fact, it is still there, inside the museum in optimal conditions. So then, to preserve the archaeological evidence of the reliefs without modifying its composition or shape, we used 3D printing. We printed individual 3D holders to keep each uneven fragment in place so they can be handled and showed to the public all together. 3D modeling was also obtained, so it can be used in a variety of different ways. As I mentioned, we try to follow Europeana basic principles for 3D digitization, and here you can see to which extent we could accomplish it. The main challenge we face is to provide open access to the 3D models. As I say, 2D digitization is standardized in our institution and also the open access to it. But at the moment, we have issues with 3D models. We lack an institutional viewer, and we can't use third-party platforms due to internal policies, and this means that we have great limitations sharing our 3D files in Europeana as well. Anyhow, we shared our files with the museums where the assets belong to, but they have found their own problems reusing them too. So in the particular case of the fountain, I have to say also that we couldn't determine the details of output due to the type of contract that we were using. So these and the above-mentioned issues restricted the selection of formats and the long-term preservation of files as intended in Europeana's principles. And finally, regarding the investment in 3D technology, we encourage it, and the problem here is that it takes a long time to implement new protocols in large institutions, as the colleagues mentioned earlier this morning. So we are still working to solve the problems detected during these projects while we try to obtain the tools we need, and we also try to standardize the 3D digitization to incorporate protocols for the preservation of different types of assets. In this regard, we are looking forward to the possibilities offered by the project ECHOS and other European initiatives which aim to solve most of the issues that we also come across. So if you want to follow to know about our institution and you are curious of our work, you can just follow us on the social media. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks a lot for all those very concrete use cases. So we will come back to you with some questions. I have some for you as well. So we are going to move to our next speaker. So as we saw here, a lot of use cases that shows how already the intended use of 3D is taken into account as part of the 3D digitization itself. And then the next step is about the reuse of those 3D. So that's why I want to make the distinction between use and reuse, where reuse is sometimes application that the cultural heritage institutions can't foresee ahead. And this is coming via applications that are developed usually by
by other actors for different type of audiences. So here we have another talk that will provide more use cases of reuse of 3D, especially in the domain of education. So I would like to welcome in the online Zoe van den Hinde and Theodora Ronsova from the KU Leuven. And they are going to talk about reimagining learning, transforming education through VR and cultural heritage. Zoe and Theodora, hi, we can see you. So I will move the slides for you. So just let me know when I need to switch. Welcome, and yeah, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I hope you just heard the bells of Leuven on the background. So we will be introducing you to the project Impulse and a specific case study at the pre-hackathon workshop that we held here in February. You can move to the next slide, please. Thank you. And the next one. Thank you. Impulse is a Horizon Europe project that emerged out of the need to creatively reuse the already digitized cultural heritage assets, as you mentioned before. It stands for immersive digitization, upcycling cultural heritage towards new reviving strategies. It's coordinated by the Jagiellonian University in Krakow. And here you can see the consortium. We represent KU Leuven, more specifically the KU Leuven libraries and the Digital research infrastructure. Other members of the consortium are the University of Bologna, the Malta University, Heritage Malta, and Magnus Min from Malta, the Film University Babelsberg Konrad Wolf from Germany, the Kapodistrian University of Athens, the K8 Institute, also from Germany, the Cluster Create from Italy, and Exploded View is our industrial partner from Poland. Next slide, please. Yes. Here we briefly outline the main objectives of Impulse, namely enhanced accessibility to digitized cultural heritage content in a digitized virtual world, fostering diverse narratives and user engagement. The standardization of digitization processes, which is often a fragmented landscape that is obstructive to interoperability among cultural heritage institutions. The development of legal frameworks that mitigate any legal problems that might arise in the use of cultural heritage data in new immersive environments. And the creation of engagement platforms, initiatives, and communities of practice, which Zoe will analyze further, in order to foster collaboration and increase the dissemination of our project. You can move to the next slide. So the virtual platform that we are building is going to be demonstrated in final hackathon in Athens in exactly 1 year from now. But until then, we constantly test it through pre-hackathon workshops. And our case study for today is the first pre-hackathon workshop that was held here at KU Leuven back in February of 2025 at the Agora Learning Center. We welcomed more than 40 participants, both from within and outside of the Impulse project. And it was academics, students, cultural heritage practitioners, and artistic professionals, divided in 4 diverse teams. Next slide. This is a brief presentation of the data and the stories that comprise the material that we used in the workshop. It was the glass slides collection of the KU Leuven libraries. This is glass slides of archaeology excavations, art history, that were mainly used in the previous centuries for didactic purposes at the Art History and Archaeology department. And the Fabrica of Vesalius. This is an early print that was recently repurchased and digitized by K.U. Leuven, and it's considered the Bible of modern anatomy. So it had a lot to offer at this workshop. Yes. These were the main objectives and challenges that we tried to tackle. This has been mentioned in the talks before, that it's quite tricky to integrate cultural heritage material coming from libraries and other institutions, which is usually 2D and flat, into 3D virtual environments. So this was the main challenge. Also creating appropriate metadata schemes for the data that is going to be integrated into the virtual platform. The way into which this cultural heritage data can be unfolded into narratives and stories. We will see that later. And the piloting of the platform, which was the primary purpose of this workshop. In the next slide, this is a screenshot of the platform that was tested on the field in the workshop. It received predominantly good feedback, and participants were able to explore the artifacts in a more embodied way. Their user feedback was gathered in questionnaires from the leading work package of the project dealing with user experience research. And from now on, Zoe will talk you more into detail about the digital storytelling approach that we followed.
Thank you, Theodora. So you can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So I will talk a little bit more about the digital storytelling approach that we explored during the workshop, which was structured around several sessions of open guided ideation. And in these sessions, each team worked with storytelling prompts that were designed to help them think creatively about how to enhance the educational value of the 2D materials that Theodora mentioned, specifically within a social multi-user virtual reality environment. So across the sessions of the 2-day workshop, we saw some really imaginative and diverse ways of working with spatial storytelling. Participants used techniques such as juxtaposition or collage or cut-ups to transform this more static 2D content into interactive and engaging learning experiences within the virtual spaces, which was exactly one of the key challenges, to find meaningful ways to reimagine this flat, often archival 2D material in immersive 3D. So this required a little bit of a mental shift for the participants, not just thinking about the content of the material, but also how the users would move through and interact with the story spatially. So to make it a bit more tangible, I wanted to share an example of Team 3, who focused on the theme of reimagining ancient storytelling. And their starting point was a pre-curated selection of about 50 historical glass slides. And the prompt they were given for the storytelling session, you can see here on the slide. So they were asked to explore how ancient civilizations used murals and artifacts as universal languages to share myths, religious ideas, and historical events, and to reimagine these visual narratives to connect across time and place, bringing ancient storytelling to life creatively through the lens of glass slides. So on the next slide, you can see some of the visual references and discussion points that came up on the first day of the workshop. The team looked at the original use of glass slides to be projected. We looked at shadow theater, at the use of lamps that were projecting on the walls, and also broader inspiration like the Kaiser panorama in Antwerp, which you can see in the middle of the top images, or also the Panopticon. These references helped frame the understanding of how visual storytelling operated historically and how we could reinterpret it in a virtual space. So on the next slide, Team 3 began designing this VR experience to blend all of these elements, and they experimented with how the glass slides could be integrated new and engaging ways. So both as narrative devices, but also as interactive elements. And here you can see some very early sketches that were created to explore these ideas during the workshop. So on the next slide, you can see some of the outcomes. So as the concepts evolved, we used a combination of creative prompts and also AI tools to help the team visualize their vision more clearly. So here you can see some AI-generated images and also a short video that were especially helpful in expressing how the 2D glass slides might live and function in 3D, because it also conveys a bit of the atmosphere, the interaction, and the general mood of the environment. So this was just one example of the outcomes for the workshop. There were 4 teams in total, and they each had wonderful contributions. So on the next slide, to wrap up the presentation, I would like to warmly invite all of you to become a part of the Impulse community of practice. It's something we call the IMCO, and it's one of the core components of the project. So it's a collaborative, co-creative space where participants from our activities or educators or designers or researchers or just anyone interested in cultural heritage and VR can exchange ideas and continue experimenting with the concepts that came out of the workshop. So everyone is welcome to join. If you're interested, you can scan the QR code on the screen. And yeah, thank you for your attention. We are happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Zoe and Theodora. So maybe if we can bring all the speakers online on the screen, so that we can take some questions now. And Christina, if you want to join me as well.
Right.
No, wait a minute. We are waiting for the...
Oh, for the online speakers.
The online speakers.
Please hold.
Well, we can't see you yet on the screen, but we can hear you. So, yeah, Yolan, I don't know if there are any questions online, maybe to start with?
A question online that I'll rephrase a bit because I wanted to connect it to the previous panel here in this auditorium. We had Karol Skutka saying that he had actually tried to bring digital cultural heritage to video games and video game creators, and he said there was, I think the specific words were, very many issues or big problems to make this happen. I think in some of the examples in this panel, we've seen that digital cultural heritage and 3D heritage has been used successfully to reuse for some audiences. The question I have is how we can improve the digitization efforts to really digitize and give access to specific users and specific audiences. So I'm thinking of specific formats or ways to digitize to make sure that we can reach as many people as possible.
So I don't know if anyone wants to take this question. Yeah, Valentina, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe I can comment on this, also basing on the experience that we shared, Valentin, with the Twin IT campaign last year, where indeed we received various formats of the 3D models, and not all of them were really already ready, let's say, to be reused in certain virtual environments. So I guess that the point that we could say here is maybe we do not need, as cultural heritage institutions or as the data space for cultural heritage, to provide a, let's say, one size fits all type of 3D model, because this simply doesn't work. What we could do, especially in the context of the data space and also via the Europeana platform, is to provide the possibility to different types of users to see the model, of course, in a viewer or in any other format that allows them to see what we are talking about, but to access also the raw data that were used to create the model, so that perhaps a creative industry can rework those data and create a model that is more suitable to their needs. So to create it in a size that, for example, fits their creative application, which may not be the size of the model that we have shared in the viewer via Europeana. So perhaps that is more than a challenge from the cultural heritage institutions to produce a model that works for every reuse scenario, to make available the data that allows different types of stakeholders and reusers to recreate the model or to adjust the model to their needs. I don't know if this makes sense, but I think it is a direction that we can consider.
Thank you, Valentina. In fact, it leads to a question I had for you, Christina. So since you did the 3D digitization for the institution, so for the Cervantes Museum, for the Fontaine, did the institution provide you also with an indication of how maybe they wanted to use those 3D model in the future, or this was not part of the original plan?
Actually, we are an institution focused on the restoration and preservation. So the original idea was just to ask for a solution for their problem. So they actually wanted to protect the asset, but the solution of 3D came from us and they were willing to accept it, but without further thought. And now, in fact, the issue for them is that they cannot reuse very easily the data we created. And as I said before, and I think that what was said is really relevant, and I have to talk from the institution side. We have standardized the 2D digitization, as I mentioned. And in that case, we provide free access to our files. And we also consider different uses. We have completely free use for normal files that can be used even for private purposes, and so you just have to mention the author and the credit. But for high resolution, we charge a little bit. It's not a very huge tax, but I think that could be a possibility if someone wants to use 3D models in the future, if we, and I wish, we implement a standard also for that. That could be another way to go. We can provide files that are available to the general public, but for specific and high-resolution models, we can charge or we can apply some kind of request system.
Thank you. I don't know if there are any questions in the room as well for our speakers. So whether you are more interested in the reuse aspect of the 3D or more on the creation side. Otherwise, we will move online. Yeah.
Yes, there we are. A question from online was focused on accessibility. This was specifically for Elena Loreto, but I think anyone can answer. The person says that some XR experiences and 3D experiences can be specifically designed so that people with disabilities can be present in a space that they otherwise couldn't be present in, or experience something that they otherwise couldn't experience. And they give the example of audio games XR, so where people with a visual disability can still, through spatial audio, experience a piece of art or cultural heritage. Their question is, do you think that this can be a plus in the development of XR experiences? Should this be focused on more? And should there be a specific label maybe for experiences that are designed for people with accessibility in mind? So I don't know if Elena maybe can... yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Well, I already mentioned it on chat, but of course it is a main item that we have to take into account when creating these experiences, virtual experiences. We especially work with spatial I/O because these experiences allow the user to control the audio of the space. You can turn on or off the audio of other users. So maybe if you are a user with, I don't know, a hearing impairment, you can turn off all of them and don't have this bothering noise in your experience. But of course, we have to take this into account when designing these experiences.
Yeah. And maybe for Zoe and Theodora, is it something you are also taking into account as part of the hackathon development as part of the Impulse project? Yeah, catering for maybe audience with disabilities. Is it something you have already explored as well?
This was one of the main feedback that was listed in the questionnaire of the hackathon. So we're taking it into consideration because the platform is being developed now, and yeah, it has been listed as one of the objectives of the project during its proposal. I don't know if Zoe, you have to add anything else.
Yeah, the UX phases, the UX experience is still being developed, and in every step of the way, we're gathering all of the user feedback through various focus groups, interviews, and we're definitely taking this into account, like Theodora said, because it's one of the main things that we received feedback on in February. So it's important, of course.
Okay, so now we have to wait for the result of the next round to see, yeah, how you have addressed this point. Yeah. Oh, and we have a question in the room from
If I can
Sophie
just get the mic. Last question, I'm afraid. So make it a good one.
I want to say hi to my two colleagues over there, Theodora and Zoe. Well done. I also want to compliment them again with the Impulse Hackathon, because the way in which they curated the storytelling part of that hackathon, I think it was the seed of the success and of the great outcomes that we're already trying to valorize going forward in the Impulse project. But that was not my question. My question goes to Valentina. Hi, Valentina. I hope to see you here, but it's also great to see you on the screen. Valentina,
Hi, Sophie.
I just happened to have a small ambulant meeting with a Ukrainian organization that is also working on 3D digitization of objects, sites, monuments, immovable heritage, and so on. And it struck me, listening to your presentation and looking at the scope of the Eureka 3D XR project, how much of the same categories of interest and the same challenges that you are actually addressing, both this Ukrainian conglomerate of partners as well as the Eureka 3D XR consortium. So I was wondering, you have within your consortium, of course, an alliance with partners to work towards these goals and these challenges, but do you also have cross-project or cross-consortium collaborations that, for instance, could enable an exchange with the Ukrainian people who are working on this?
Well, of course, Eureka 3D, as I said, is becoming not more just a project, but really an initiative. And certainly stakeholders are very welcome to join us to try the Eureka 3D Data Hub platform that really, as I said in the presentation, enables to store the data safely. It is based on the EGI infrastructure, the European Grid Initiative. So the servers are in Europe, not in other, let's say, countries. We offer a service that covers all the aspects of, as I said, storage management, visualization, with a viewer that is integrated in the platform. So no need to go look for other platforms or private providers, and a direct entry gate to Europeana. So this network is growing. The Eureka 3D project was not a big consortium. We had only 4 content providers, but the number of stakeholders, cultural heritage institutions who are using the platform is growing. It is a service that is maintained. It is part, let's say, of the data space for cultural heritage in the spirit of the decentralization of the services. So yes, of course, we are super happy to establish cross collaborations with other stakeholders, other companies, consortia. And certainly, we are more than happy to support Ukrainian institutions that are facing such big challenges that are also more heavy than what we already have in Europe due to the circumstances. So, yes, I hope this answered the question.
Yes, thank you.
The main message was we are super open and super available to support all institutions in Europe and certainly in Ukraine.
I will definitely reach out to you, because the thing is that this consortium also developed their own solutions, so also their own Sketchfab, also hosting content on their own server. So I would love to see if exchanging your experiences and your solutions could maybe even accelerate the advancements that we make in 3D digitization.
Yeah, that would certainly be welcome. And certainly we can also, explore possibilities of integration and of connection of these platforms that are, I suppose, cloud-based. So yes, please, Sophie, write me about
Will
this.
do. Thank you, Valentina.
Thank you. So let's thank our speakers again for today's session. Yeah.